Hello, a very warm welcome to Middle East Matters. I'm Sanam Shantier. Coming up on this week's show, the future of the Kurdish forces hangs in the balance in Syria. This after a decision to withdraw all US troops from the war-torn country. We'll be joined by American-Iranian State House representative in Florida, Anna Eskamani, to talk about her challenges and hopes in the Trump era. Also coming up, the third episode of animation TV series Flavors of Iraq by Franco-Iraqi journalist Farat Alani. Stay tuned for Love Under Surveillance. Thank you for watching. We start this week's show with a look at the repercussions of Donald Trump's unexpected decision to withdraw US troops from Syria. Now, with Turkey threatening to invade from the north of the war-torn country and the Islamic State group regrouping in their midst, one of the communities whose future hangs in the balance is the Kurds. Now, this week, the US president tried to reassure them, stating Ankara would face devastating economic consequences if they went ahead with an attack. Here's Kathy Clifford with that report.
Protests like this one have been more and more frequent in Qamishli at the Turkish border in northern Syria. Many here have lost family members to the fight against the Islamic State group. Now locals feel betrayed by the US's decision to pull out of Syria, which leaves them at Turkey's mercy.
We're here to denounce Erdogan's threats against our territory. Kurds and Arabs live here together, but Erdogan won't leave us alone.
These young men have sacrificed their blood for the sake of protecting these people and the entire world. Therefore, I say to all democracies and to all human rights activists that they must stand up to Erdogan. This is not the duty of the Kurds alone, it is a duty of the entire world.
At the front line of the fight against the Islamic State group, the Syrian Democratic Forces, a force largely dominated by Kurds within the YPG, a rebel group which Turkey views as an extension of the outlawed PKK, considered a terrorist organisation. Recep Tayyip Erdogan has openly threatened them.
Those who are part of the terror corridor in Syria will receive the necessary lesson. There is no single difference between the PKK, YPG, and the Islamic State group.
As the Turkish offensive looms, Syrian Kurds have asked Damascus and Moscow for protection, warning the US withdrawal could allow the Islamic State group to regain strength.
It will change the power balance. Turkey will carry out their offensive, and operations against the Islamic State group will cease, as will the construction of a democratic system, allowing for expansion of terrorism again.
US President Donald Trump is threatening to, quote, devastate Turkey economically if they hit Kurds, with Ankara replying that it won't be intimidated. The future is uncertain for Syria's Kurds, who have been left disappointed by their cooperation with the international coalition. Many dreamed of establishing an autonomous Kurdish state in the north of the country, with a democratic federation of northern Syria established in one region in 2016. The project being negotiated with Damascus, which for now is playing hot and cold. Turkey, meanwhile, is observing the negotiations with fear that they will bolster its own Kurds' ambitions.
Over to Iran, where a British-Iranian mother who's been in prison since April 2016 went on hunger strike earlier this week. Reportedly, Nazanin Ratcliffe, that's a project manager for Thomson Reuters Foundation, has been denied medical treatment in the capital's notorious Evin prison. Her husband Richard claims Iran's Revolutionary Guard officers have attempted to recruit her as a spy while detaining her on espionage charges. Foreign Secretary Jeremy Hunt has summoned the Iranian ambassador to the UK to discuss the case, saying, "We will not rest until she returns home." Moving on to the story of an American-Iranian national who was driven to politics because of Donald Trump. Now, despite a mudslinging match during her campaign trail and against all odds, Ana Eskamani became a state house representative in Florida, which is a majority white state. The 28-year-old is the first American-Iranian elected to this post, and she joins us via Skype. Ana, thanks so much for speaking to us. Now, your interest in politics peaked during the 2009 disputed presidential elections in Iran, but you didn't necessarily imagine a career in this field because, in your own words, most Iranians stay away from politics because it's so muddied in their home country.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and that's exactly right. I mean, when I grew up here in Orlando, Florida, I was told often by my dad to study only physics, biology, chemistry, and not get involved in politics. And I think for many Iranians, the context of politics is dangerous. If you speak out in a country like Iran, you could be persecuted and your family could be impacted too. So the culture very much is stick to yourself and don't get involved in the political process.
As I mentioned earlier, you've actually said that your decision was made when Donald Trump was elected. Why was that?
Well, Donald Trump's election was not representative of this country. I'm a daughter of working class immigrants from Iran. My mom passed away to cancer when I was 13 years old. This is a country of opportunity, of diversity, not of Donald Trump. And so when I saw his campaign and how he treated others and the fact that he won, it put me in a place to make the decision that if we really wanted a representative democracy, women like me would have to step up and run for office for the first time.
So you had to step up. Now tell us about the people that rallied behind you during your campaign. And of course, it wasn't just the Iranian community, was it?
No, actually, you know, my district, District 47, is about 85% white. We don't have a large Iranian population anywhere in Florida. And so we really had to rally everyone. And I was really proud to say that we had Latinos, African-Americans, Arabs, folks of every background come together to support our campaign. And we raised over $500,000 and knocked on 50,000 doors.
And why do you think they supported you?
Well, I think we speak to a vision for America where everyone wins. It doesn't have to be a zero-sum game anymore. And this is a nation of immigrants. And so when you're bold and unapologetic about who you are and craft a vision where no one's left behind, it inspires others to join you in action.
Now, Ana, while you don't deal with foreign policy in your daily work, you have very strong opinions about the current climate in the US. Everything from the draconian sanctions imposed on Tehran, the Muslim travel ban, and of course, more recently, echoes of war on Iran.
There's no way that I can't be. I mean, Iranians are, we think about our home country all the time, and I have so much family that still lives in Iran. And when my mom passed away in 2004 to cancer, she hadn't seen her sisters in decades. So these issues are really personal for me, and I think about my family in Iran every day. And the concerns about war means that people who I love and care about are going to be impacted. I want a world where Iran and the United States have peace. And I do think diplomacy is one of the best ways to get there.
Lastly and briefly, can you talk us through this Nowruz? That's the Persian New Year event that you're organizing at the Florida State Capitol in March. What's behind that idea?
As the first Iranian-American elected to any public office in Florida, I feel like it is my duty to share my culture with others. And so we are hosting a Persian New Year celebration at Florida State Capitol, the first ever. And my goal is to help break the stigma between American culture and Iranian culture and celebrate the New Year together.
Ana Eskamani, I'm afraid that's all we have time for. Thank you so much for speaking to us here on Middle East Matters. We wish you the best of luck. It's time now for the third episode of animation series Flavors of Iraq, a colourful glance into the life and memories of Franco-Iraqi journalist Forat Alani. This week, we're bringing you Love Under Surveillance.
In the autumn of 1989, I was back in Baghdad with my mother and sister. Unlike my relatives in Fallujah, my family in Baghdad was well off. We were in Yarmouk, one of the city's more affluent districts. I went to meet my cousin, Omar. Omar drove a Japanese car, a Toyota Royal Crown. He was slender, smelt good, and collected girlfriends like stamps. He took my sister and I to El Mustansiriya University, where he studied. It's the world's oldest university. It was also a little pocket of freedom and flirtation. Like Omar, all the students wore perfume and slicked back their hair. But Omar was dating a girl in Saddam Hussein's inner circle. And the mukhabarat, the intelligence officers, were everywhere. We were told that my cousin had been arrested. He'd disappeared. My family was terrified. A few days later, one of my uncles managed to find him. A governor of one of Iraq's 18 provinces close to the regime, he found Omar. My cousin was held in a secret safe house used by Iraqi intelligence. He was eventually released. Omar never dated that girl again.
Well, that's it for us this week. Don't forget you can reach out to us on Facebook and Twitter. That's Middle East Matters France 24. Thank you for watching.